All right, everybody, welcome. Welcome back to Retire Wealthy. I'm Craig Rourke. I'm your host, and I'm really happy to have a very special guest here today, Barrett Porter. I've known Barrett for a long time. Barrett is a wealth manager over at Abbacus Partners. And Barrett has been doing amazing things in this field for years for myself, my family, and many of my clients that I've sent over to him. Not everybody is as passionate about real estate as me, so I thought it's good to get a different perspective on everything. And one of the things I really wanted to talk about with Barrett after he introduces himself is the whole idea of what a fiduciary is. So Barrett, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so Abbacus Wealth Partners, been there almost 20 years. Joined as a a typical financial advisor. I just gotten my CFP, that Certified Financial Planner designation, probably a year before that. Maybe 4 years ago, I moved into this role called the Chief of Advisory Services. So I'm just kind of overseeing the department that's in charge of all the teams and kind of how we deliver planning to all of our clients and kind of how to systematize that a little bit better in our industry.
Great. Well, okay, so let's talk a little bit about what a fiduciary is and what a fiduciary does, because I know all wealth managers aren't fiduciaries, and I think that's an important component that a lot of people don't really understand. So I'm hoping you shed some light on it.
Yeah, I mean, like it's probably one of the most boring words in the world. If you Google it, you'll find a lot of different definitions, and they're all very boring. They're very puts client interest first, put client's interest ahead of your own, acts with care, is prudent. There's a laundry list of things, but I think the simplest way to describe it is you do what's best for the client above all, right? And so a fiduciary kind of adds almost like a legal contract to a relationship so that if someone doesn't do that, there could be a consequence. And for years in our industry, the other standard, which is called a suitability standard, a typical, not to pick on anyone, but if you were a good old-fashioned Wolf of Wall Street kind of stockbroker, you sold things and you earned a commission for selling them. And as long as you told someone sort of what was happening, that was enough. And even today, people can sell things. And as long as they just kind of describe what it is they're buying into, they call that suitable, even though it may not be what's best for them. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So is it really possible to avoid conflicts with that?
I don't like the word avoidance too much. I think it's more reasonable to say like reduce, that you can reduce the conflicts of interest or minimize them a lot by having, like you say, look, my bare minimum standard if I'm going out to hire someone should be someone that at least is putting my interest first. That doesn't mean they can't be terrible at their job, doesn't mean they can't be up to something they shouldn't be doing, but at least the odds are higher. I always come back to the example of if someone comes to me and says, look, I inherited $2 million and I'm finally ready to go buy a nice house. I've been renting forever. And they're like, should I do it? Can I afford it? So great, we can model that out. We can tell you what's affordable. And then the moment comes where I say you should have a mortgage. Well, by having a mortgage, that means that maybe $1.6 million of that 2 million comes to our firm. And now we are building a fee to manage that portfolio, even though that may be the best for them. It's probably the right call, depending on where interest rates are with mortgages. You can see how there's still a conflict there. So if I really want to manage those assets, I'm probably inclined to suggest a mortgage as opposed to them using all cash to buy the home. Right?
Makes sense. Makes sense.
There's a lot of other of those, but I think that's the easiest example.
Right. So talk a little bit about what fee only is.
Hopefully I'm getting this still right. There's organizations in our industry. One is called NAPFA, N-A-P-F-A, National Association of Personal Financial Advisors. We've been a member of them for a long time. When I joined them, they were almost a mom and pop organization. I don't know how many hundreds or low thousands of advisors they had, but that little kind of fee only is a trademark thing by them. And what it means is you can charge in any number of ways, right? You can bill assets under management, right? The 1% fee, very popular in the industry. You can charge by the hour. You can bill a retainer. You can charge based on net worth. There's a lot of ways to charge, but the fee only term is an umbrella term that suggests you are not able to receive any form of kickback or commissions. Like if I have some insurance company that it really wants me to use them, recommend their company to buy, term insurance for someone. They send me baseball tickets. They say, here you go. We got front row or a box at the Dodgers game. If I accept those, we kind of have a problem, because now I'm getting something in return from someone else, and that might kind of make me more biased to using them. The fee only world would say you could get in trouble for that. So it's a very, very high standard as far as do not receive any commissions or any kickbacks from anybody that might cause some kind of bias. And so I had to get rid of all my licenses years ago, Series 7, my insurance license, when I became a CFP and then entered this kind of fee only world. I had to let go of all those. It's like I can't receive any commissions.
Interesting. So as we all know, nothing's free in this world. What do you think is the best way for the consumer to pay?
We have been debating this since I joined the industry, and it does not stop. I've talked to industry gurus and say, hey, someone solve this riddle on the best way to charge people for this thing called financial planning. The problem is financial planning is one thing you do for a client like we do, and investment management is a thing. When you call it wealth management, it's really one big service, but the mechanics of how you bill for that, a lot of people still don't really understand the value of planning until they've had it. It's hard for someone to see that I will get a return on that investment of paying someone, say, a $10,000 retainer for them to advise me about my philanthropy and my taxes and my savings plan and all those things. Whereas investing is this thing that people used to find to be very confusing. And it was, I know I pay an advisor to manage my portfolio. They're doing stuff I don't understand how to do. Some see value in that. Some are confused by it. And they're like, I don't get this, just do it. So I could go on and on with all this, but I think in the end, the best of the lot is either assets under management, which is a model, full disclosure, that we use. It's not perfect, but it still works if the client is essentially allowing that firm to kind of manage all their wealth. And there's not a lot of very strange outlier assets, like with your industry, if it's not a ton of rental properties. If someone comes to me and says, I have $8 million of rental properties and a $400,000 investment portfolio, but they want me to kind of advise them on all of it, I don't get paid too well if I charge a 1% fee on the portfolio, but they want me to give them advice on all those other properties. So sometimes that's where it doesn't always work too well. So that's why some firms charge based on net worth. But then are you including the residence? Do you include the cash in the bank? So you can see how there's always some kind of but there. But again, despite all the imperfections, I think the assets under management model usually works for people if they're all in with their advisory firm and they trust them.
So what's wrong with commissions then?
In our industry, it's tough. I think there's a lot of exceptions, yours being one of them, right? Like I'm sure you've had moments where you wish you could charge someone for your time if you showed them 8 homes and they backed out and decided, I don't want to buy the home.
That'd be great. I'd have a lot more money.
But I guess kind of like an actor in Hollywood, my hope is maybe a real estate agent knows that they're going to have a couple of layups along the way, right? You'll get paid very well for maybe a transaction that doesn't take forever. So in our industry, because we have changed it, we now have thousands of advisors who bill in other ways that remove some of the conflicts. There's really no need to pay a commission anymore because of that change. Now, a long time ago, I think where it helped people is if you're the little guy, if you're someone with like $30,000 and you're just starting to save in your 30s, you kind of get squeezed out. Like a lot of wealth management firms are not going to retain that client with a small portfolio and then charge an ongoing 1% fee on it. They'd have minimums like $500,000 or $1 million. So for those people, commissions could sort of make sense because at least you got someone who could help you. Like the Edward Jones model, I think still to this day in little, kind of parking lots, little strip malls, you see an Edward Jones office. And I don't think that they charge in other ways. Maybe they've evolved it. I don't know. But they were helping a lot of people with modest resources, and that was probably a good service. But the big one for me is commissions are still really common with product. So if someone goes to an advisor and that person says, look, I'm going to sell you a variable annuity, they get paid, call it 6 or 7% of the product amount. So that person could, all they do is explain the product. They might walk away with 50 or 60 grand. They have no fiduciary obligations beyond that transaction, no ongoing kind of management consulting to do anything. And if that client realizes that wasn't good for them in 2 or 3 years or 4 years, you can't just get out of it. These have these huge charges. They're called surrender fees, and they often go out 7, 8, 9 years. And so commission means that it also kind of locks you into something. So I don't know, maybe there's some models out there that work where people who don't really want a relationship with an advisor, they just kind of want to call Jimmy and say, Jimmy, I saw a good stock. What do you think? Should we buy this? And he says, yeah, let's buy that. If you understand the relationship and a commission system works for you, because that's all you need, maybe there's a market for that. I just don't think that people who are looking for true ongoing guidance are served well by that.
Great advice. Barrett, thank you so much for being here. And for those of you that like the show, please remember to hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications. And if you'd like to contact Barrett, please go ahead. There's a QR code. Go ahead and hit that QR code. If nothing else, you got to sign up for his newsletter. I think it's called Done by 60. Is that correct, Barrett?
Yeah.
And I read it religiously. It's really good. Thank you so much. I hope we'll have you back on the show again soon. Thanks so much for your time.